Dogworks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dogworks. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
You can support this podcast on patreon.com/firstpawmedia.
Welcome to Dogworks Radio. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. I know, and I bet you are like most people and have a whole gaggle of family and friends coming over for dinner. In writing this, I could not help but think about the movie Christmas Vacation. I love that movie, and it surely is a classic in our house. Yes, I know it's about Christmas, which is just a month from now, by the way, but I am sure there are the usual suspects that invade your home for a feast with the beast. On today's show, we're going to talk about 10 usual suspects at Thanksgiving and how to save your dog from them. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends from the American Kennel Club and the Dog Writers Association of America for helping us out on this episode. And you guys, after the episode, I need you to ask yourself a few questions. What new ideas has this conversation sparked for you? Then share this episode with a family member or friends and discuss it together. As always, ping me over on Instagram at firstpawmedia. And just remember, dog training is a big commitment and accountability is a huge part. You can do it. I believe in you. One last thing before we dive into this episode, I need to ask you guys a favor. If you've been listening to Dogworks Radio for a while now, and I know you have, say 3 or more episodes, and you like what you hear, would you consider leaving us a 5-star review? Something simple, 2 or 3 sentences max, is perfect for telling the world about what you like about this podcast, what you've learned, and why you're a rabid listener. This helps us out tremendously. Just scroll down in your favorite podcast player, click the leave a review button. It's super simple. And thanks so much for tapping that subscribe button. Let's give a quick shout out to our listeners. By the way, we have 61 countries listening worldwide, and we'd like to say hello to listeners this month in Indianapolis, Denver, and Philadelphia, as well as our friends in Singapore. We're happy that you're tuning in. All right, you guys, let's dive in. Are you ready?
From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dogworks Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is Dogworks Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert and Michele Forto.
Thanksgiving, a time for gratitude, personal reflection, and binge eating. While it sounds great in theory, the event is only as enjoyable as those you share it with. And often, that involves collections of characters you wouldn't choose to share a meal with regularly. But before you start planning and daydreaming about the gallons of wine, or in my case, fine bourbon, it'll take to get through the evening, recognize that you are not the only one suffering. As much as you may loathe coming face to face with the various personalities that inevitably derail Turkey Day, it's worse for your pet. For them, Thanksgiving is scarier than fireworks, the vacuum cleaner, and even nail clippers combined. So, just as our pets save us from the loneliness, boredom, and a life without meaning, we too must protect them from our irritating friends and family, if only for one day. The drunk ant. You might be mildly annoyed by her way too loud for 3:30 in the afternoon energy, but no one will seem to notice your sauced ant is smushing your pet's face. There are a couple of strategies to attempt here. First, and least likely for success, bring your ant some water and try to sober her up. When this inevitably fails, distract her with something else, like a fidget spinner or crayons. The clingy uncle. When your uncle, who never had children, nothing wrong with that, of course, projects that unfulfilled paternal yearning onto your brother-in-law's cat, it's less charming. So, if you're dreading your uncle forcing you to watch another video of his favorite German flute player on Facebook, understand that your pup is at dire risk of being kidnapped and paraded around down in a stroller. Best to come prepared with a GPS collar just in case. The cuddly child. Conversely, the actual child at this party isn't exactly the adorable ally you'd expect. Everyone thinks it's so cute when the kid who can barely walk hugs the cat or dog, but they haven't learned about suffocation yet, or how easily you can cause it. Babies are stronger than they look. So, as you and your family are taking 800 pics of the heartwarming experience, know that your most dedicated friend is elbows deep in a Ronda Rousey-inspired armbar. Simple fix, sub yourself in and take some pics with the kid. You'll be freeing your pet's poor lungs while also creating some solid social media clout, building content because, again, people love babies. The superstitious gambler. The yearly NFL slate of action is one of the few redeeming qualities of Thanksgiving. But, as with everything associated with the holiday season, some people take it too far. They're so deep in so many parlays, it's not clear if it's even mathematically possible for them to make a profit on the day. And yet, the series of games are full of apparent, life-changing triumphs and retirement-draining losses, both of which are being accredited to your dog. So, as they anxiously watch the Cowboys teeter around covering the spread, your poor dog's being used as a proverbial rabbit's foot. Thankfully, it's pretty easy to use this dude's superstitions against him. Just make a comment about how the last time his team scored, no other living thing was near him, inspiring him to quarantine himself in the garage until dinner. The in-law who's allergic to animals. Imagine the pain of tiptoeing around the house with the burden of someone else's well-being tied to your own existence. Exiled in your own home, afraid to show your face for fear of making someone sneeze a little bit. That's no way to live. However, subtly planting bottles of Benadryl around the house, that's forgivable. The feels freshmen. They just came home from their first semester at college and are a smorgasbord of adolescent emotions. But no one else understands. No one except your not so bald little Dr. Phil. So, as you sit and meditate on all the places you'd rather be during grace, this freshman is hiding in the bathroom, crying all over your cat over their casual fling gone wrong Instagram history. Even if they qualify as an emotional support animal, they're not a therapist. Though there is one emotion every college student shares, and that is the desire to black out. Quickly redirect them towards your drunk aunt, and those two will occupy themselves with a fidget spinner rave for hours. The cousin who chews with their mouth open. Did you know that a dog's sense of hearing is about 4 times stronger than ours? Given that, if you're being bothered by someone chewing with their mouth open at the table, consider how it would feel to listen to all those chomps and slurps through 2 Dolby surround sound speakers duct taped to each side of your head. This is a challenging problem to confront. The only option is seating them as far away from your pet's domain as possible. And, for the love of God, keep them away from the sweet potato casserole. The late arrival. Showing up late equals staying late, which adds up to increased tension for your pet. It's their least favorite math equation that nearly guarantees prolonging that moment of zen when the last guest walks out of the door. As someone who comes from a long line of leisurely Irish folks, I can tell you with the confidence that the best course of action here is lying. Tell those prone to tardiness that the party starts 2 hours early. This way, they'll only be a few minutes late. The early arrival. Alternatively, Aunt Edna showing up 2 hours early while you're still in a bathrobe can only result in one of two things. Too many cooks in the kitchen, but you're too savvy to let that happen. Or your pet stepping up and entertaining as you scramble to finish prepping. It's going to be the latter. So thank them in advance for taking one for the team. For this, simply flip the strategy above and tell them that dinner is a couple of hours later than it is. The mooch. There is but one saving grace in these large holiday events for your pet. Unattended or disregarded leftovers. Just as your mother would tell you that tossing perfectly edible food away is disrespectful to those starving across the world, securing all the table's leftovers is disrespectful towards those suffering across the room all day long. Luckily, there's a simple solution. Save some pet-safe goodies, turkey meat, no cooked bones, sweet potato, green beans for your pet. Show them their pain was not in vain. Even if your Thanksgiving is a disaster, and it's not gonna be, because even Grandma can bake another pecan pie, it's not too early to get a jump start on your training for all of the Christmas festivities. Give us a call at Alaska Dog Works or find a trainer in your area for help. And before we end the show, let's press pause here for a sec. Maybe ask yourself, why did this resonate with me? What aspect of my relationship with my canine buddy could I apply this to? And what am I going to do differently this week to make my dog's training a little easier? So take time to mull it over, talk it out with a family member or trusted friend, put some ideas down in your training journal, and then check back next week for our next episode. As always, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this episode, so reach out and DM me over on Instagram at First Paw Media, and let's spark a conversation. Until then, keep going. You're doing great. It is time to create the relationship with your dog that you've always dreamed of. Thanks for listening to DogWorks Radio. Find the show notes for this episode and all others at alaskadogworks.com. And if you know someone in your life who needs help with their dog's training, be a hero and share our podcast with them. And we'll see you next time.
From First Paw Media, this is DogWorks Radio. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michele Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media.